It is not a big secret that housekeeping and house cleaning is not my favorite thing. I will do the bare minimum to keep everything neat and tidy or an acceptable facsimile of that. To that end, I am a big fan of automated processes and cleaning robots and stick vacs and things like that. We have 2 cats and a dog right now. For the majority of time, we had a dog named Penny, and she was a Rhodesian Ridgeback mix, and she was about 110 pounds, and she was taller than me if she was on her back feet. She was a good sized girl, but oh my word, did she shed. And then we added radar to the mix, and it was even more hair. So we really upped our game after a while and started getting nicer and nicer robots and things like that, just to keep the hair at bay and keep the tumble floofs off the floors. The majority of our house is hardwood floors, even in the kitchen. There's tile in the bathrooms, and a few of the bedrooms have carpet. The main rooms, like the dining room, living room, things like that, all have area rugs, and so I need something that has to go from hardwood to area rug pretty efficiently. And today we're going to discuss some of the ones we've had, what I've liked, what I've hated, and kind of how disappointed I am with Roborock right now, especially for how much they're charging. During this, I'm going to be displaying my Firefox browser, and so you will probably see me look that way when I'm switching between screens because I have another monitor off to the side where I can see what I'm doing. So let's get started. We started off with the very basic 2nd-gen iRobot Roombas. They basically had apps, they had lost the beacons, they had their own self-mapping, and were functional but not great. But then again, you were expected to run this a couple times a day and then possibly come behind it with a traditional vacuum every 2 to 3 days. Personally, I hit it about once a week, 10 days, things like that, and this is supposed to keep all the tumble floofs and things down. It was serviceable, it was good, and we used it until it literally stopped working. We replaced wheels, we replaced rollers, we replaced all the things multiple times. It was good for what it was. I absolutely hated to empty it because it probably needed to be emptied maybe twice a day, something like that. After this one died, we went through a series of other ones. I think the Eufys had just come out. We didn't try that one. I know we tried, we did have a D-Bot, and it was good. It was better than the Roomba. It picked up really well. The mapping was incredibly hit or miss. It would just lose the map. You would have it saved. You would have it uploaded to the cloud or however it was storing it if it was on the robot. I don't remember, but it would just randomly lose the map, and you'd have to clean everything and remap the entire house, which was a massive pain in the butt. After that, I know we tried the Lambot. I don't even know if they're still around, but let me tell you, that thing was years ahead of everybody else for the mapping. The mapping on that thing was phenomenal. Unfortunately, it was abjectly terrible on everything else. It did not pick up hair. It got caught and stuck constantly. It was the hottest of messes. I had to say their support was amazing. After a few weeks of troubleshooting with them back and forth through email, they ended up sending us a replacement unit. It did the same thing. It just would not clean, even though the map was just immaculate. I'm not entirely sure today's maps are as good as the map on that one was. They really had their act together with that one. It took me a while to even remember the name because we blew through that one so quick, and they ended up replacing it the first time, and then they refunded our money. So I have to say there was no shade on the company or anything like that. We were very happy with the support and everything. It just the tech for the suction and things were not great. After that, we went to the new gen of robots, and these were the self-emptying ones. This one was good. iRobot does not have the best mapping overall. I really wish they would catch up with some of the other companies as far as the mapping, and it did get stuck a lot. And it was inevitable that if we went out of town, this thing was going to get stuck the first 5 hours we were gone. Maybe if we were lucky, we made it a day before it got stuck on something, and it just would die there until we got back. And generally, we either, when we had Penny, a friend of ours or family members would watch the dogs, and we would leave it running while we were gone because of the cats. And, just it helps to keep it clean, especially when we're not here to get things in the way. But it was almost always stuck on something. This one was really good. We were able to change out the battery on this one. We were able to change the wheels out on this one. And we were generally happy with it. Replacement parts weren't affordable, but they weren't outrageous either. So it was one of those happy mediums. My big complaint on these is the bags were fairly small, and so they had to be changed quite often. But that is just a minor complaint. I wouldn't fault them too much for that, because you're basically limited on how tall the canister is. While we had this one, after a couple years, the mopping technology on the robots had gotten so much better. So in addition to this one, we got the Braava Jet. And when it worked, it was great. Half the time it didn't work. Most of the time it couldn't get back on the base. A lot of the times the wheels just couldn't get grip, so we put like grippy tape on it, and then it would get stuck on the base because it couldn't get off. And the pads on this were wildly expensive. If you bought the iRobot ones, I can't remember how much, but they were offensive. And then they had a disposable one that was even worse. And you couldn't throw them in the washing machine because they were hand wash only. And I really don't want to be picking like my hair and pet hair off of these to hand wash them. This was not my favorite. It was a nice try. It mopped fairly well, but the pads and the maintenance and it being stuck all the time, half the time we didn't even use it. So I ended up buying third-party pads for it off of Amazon and throwing those in the washing machine, and those broke. That you maybe got 2 or 3 washes before they broke, but I don't think they were supposed to be washed in the machine either. So when we first started showing trouble out of this, we decided we were going to start looking at other brands. So I looked at Shark. I think D-Bot has a few out. I looked at Eufy. I looked at a few other things, and I watched all the YouTube reviews. I made a spreadsheet about it. I checked prices, and everybody on the internet, especially on YouTube, said I needed to get a Roborock. And it was this one or another one that came out at the same time, and they basically said whichever one was cheaper, get it, because they were the same exact vacuum. This one happened to be on sale. Now, our other robot vacuums were expensive. The i7, I think, retailed at the time for $700, and I got it on Prime Day, I think, for $500, which is a lot for a robot vacuum. But like I said, I would rather have that to keep up with the dog hair and everything, and it is significantly cheaper than having a housekeeper or somebody come in once a week, which I don't think we're to that point. But, having something continually pick up the dog hair is just the best. So, and for as long as that iRobot lasted, because I think we got like 4.5 years out of it, $500 isn't terrible. Is it ideal? No, but, it's something that I can live with. The Braava Jet Mop, I can't remember how much it retailed for. I know we got it for $300 on Prime Day or Black Friday or something along those lines. So I know we paid $300 for it, which I still feel was overpriced for it because of how much trouble we had out of it. So I go through all the reviews and the YouTube videos and the recommendation pages, and let me tell you, I think that Roborock is doing some really good social media marketing, because I want to like this vacuum. I really want to like it. It has LiDAR. The mapping of it is excellent. The controls on it are not my favorite, but the mapping is excellent. I can run it in the middle of the night when all the lights are off. It has its own light. It doesn't lose where it is. It doesn't get lost. My favorite thing is the mapping on this. And that's pretty much where it ends, because my biggest complaint about this is it is supposed to be self-emptying. And that's its biggest problem. Also, the one thing I did like about this, it is a combination mop and vacuum. And so it even heats the water to mop the floors. And it does do an excellent job of the mopping. It is so much better than the Braava Jet. I cannot complain about the mopping features on it. The pads are affordable for it. You can swap them out. You can throw them in the washing machine. I don't know if we have, okay, you can see here where it's got the 2 mop pads on the back, and they're incredibly easy to clean, and they're Velcro and they pop on and off. Sometimes it does lose them if the Velcro gets a little janky and you have to wash it, but other than that, it's fine. But the problem is this is where it has the bag. Roborock uses the same bag for several different models, and I understand why they do this. And I commend them for it. But this right here is where it holds the bag. So you can see where it comes up and goes in, and it comes in the side right here and then goes down. This never works. The design of the bag versus the angle of the insert here, it is at a 90-degree angle, and it kinks and clogs. And I want to say I have to manually clean this thing out about every 2 days, because it just gets stuck in here. It creates a backup through here. This clogs, and then it clogs in the robot, where it does have a very small collection tray, and it'll just start spitting stuff out all over the floor. My other complaint with it is that it has this beater bar, and I thought it was going to be good because it's 2 mini beater bars with a gap in the middle. So it's supposed to pick up your like longer hair like mine, cords, things like that, and spit it back out, or like bring it directly into the holding bin. And I understand that the reason they can't use the 2 beater bars is because iRobot has a lot of the patents. The stuff that I complain about on this model the most, I'm fairly certain is because of patent issues with iRobot, and they cannot infringe on those patents. So I will give them grace here. And this is really the only reason I haven't sent it back, because I think they are limited by what they can do without infringing on iRobot's patents. So, but it also is supposed to not pull cords or suck them up or get stuck on cords. And let me tell you, this thing seeks them out like it wants to eat them for lunch. It is a cord finding machine. It will get tangled and it will eat them. The other problem with the gap in the middle is, yes, it is great for hair, and it rolls it to the end and then it sucks it up, but it also eats things like socks and shoelaces and things like that. So it is not uncommon for me to have to pull a sock out of it because it has sucked it up. What I don't understand is how it can eat an entire sock but then not pick up any hair. It is pretty good on the hardwoods as long as it is working properly. It is mediocre at best on carpets. This was supposed to be the pet hair. Wonderful. It's got all the suction. It's got all this technology here. And it is not great unless it's on hardwoods. I'm going to be honest. But it does, like I said, it's great here where it can see in the dark. It doesn't really eat paper and things like that. It's serviceable, but it's a lot more maintenance for what it is. Now, my sticking point with this is that if it had been $500 or $600, I would be a lot more forgiving. This thing was well over $1,000. I think the MSRP on this is $1,500. I did not pay $1,500 because that is insane, but I did pay $900, and I am patently offended that I paid that much money, and it's not great. That is my big sticking point. I was willing to pay a little bit more because it was the mop and the vacuum, which I mean, if you look at it, the other one I spent $800 between the other two iRobots. So I was willing to pay a little bit more to get it all in one. And I have to say the mopping is pretty good. It's got two chambers. I think you can see it here. It's got clean water and dirty water. It's pretty good about that. My only thing is when it does clog occasionally, pulling in the dirty water. And at one point, it kept trying to suck the water out, and it actually dented this container. And it's a pretty thick plastic, so I'm kind of impressed with how much suction it had, to where it was like trying to like eat itself. It does clean the mop heads frequently. There's a little tray here in the bottom where it cleans them, and it does dry them, so you don't have stinky, gross pads. Like I said, they're very easy to replace. They're just Velcroed on, so I have about 8 sets, and I can swap them out every couple days so that my floor is getting mopped with clean mop heads. And you can put a little bit of cleaning solution in with the clean water, and you don't have sticky floors as long as you are chill with the soap. So I am very happy with the mopping function. I think most of my complaints with it is for the price, the vacuuming is just not there. And we have had robot vacuums long enough now that I think we should be doing better. I know we started this when we got Penny, and Penny was 11 years old when she passed about 14 months ago. So we've had at least a decade of the tech developing and things like that. And I think we should be doing a little bit better. I think this design is not great. And I know they have other ones where they don't have the right angle here. And I'm almost thinking they should recall these and replace them. Have I contacted them? No. I'm on the fence about it because it does do what it says. I'm just not happy with how much I paid for it to be mediocre in the one thing that it's supposed to do very well. But like I said, I'm pleased with the mopping on it. One other complaint I have is it does not empty itself enough, and you cannot tell it to empty itself more. You can tell it to do a high volume emptying, but there's no mechanism like iRobot has that you can tell it, I need you to empty this now. The other thing is the app is very complex. I'm a techie person. I find their app a nightmare to navigate and program. They could simplify things quite a bit and give it more functionality and not have so many things hidden in so many menus. The map on it is good. The display on it is pretty good. I don't really have any faults with that, but the intuitive navigation of their app is not my favorite. It is a pain to learn, and if I don't have to go in for a couple weeks, I almost forget how to find things because it's not intuitive at all. And I think it's something that they really could work on. So in conclusion, with the robot vacuums, we still currently have the Roborock. I'm mid on it. I think it needs some work. In my ideal situation, I think if Roborock and iRobot got together and had iRobot's suction and rollers and storage system with Roborock's mapping and then iRobot's app, I think that would be the ideal situation, especially at the price point some of these newer ones are. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I could be pleasantly surprised. Maybe some patents will fall off, but I definitely like the dual beater bars on the iRobots. I don't know how much longer they have on their patent, but I can see why that is definitely the gold standard as far as picking things up off of floors. All right, so now that we have heard me complain about robots, I want to talk about stick vacs real quick. And we had a Dyson pet stick vac that I received as a Christmas gift one year. Not from my husband, somebody else. That was awesome. There was nothing you could throw at that thing that it could not pick up. It was basically a shop vac with a filter. It was excellent, had great suction. The only thing is the replacement parts on it were incredibly expensive. But to its credit, it was before they were all uniformed into the batteries. You could swap out the batteries. And nowadays, that's very rare to find is to swap out the batteries. So the one I had two batteries, and you could swap them out. We used that for many, 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 many years until it got to where the batteries were no longer charging, and Dyson no longer made that one. And it was time for me to look for something else. At the time, I had been on TikTok quite a bit. I'm no longer on TikTok. And Tineco was the big thing that all the influencers were shilling at the time. And so I was pretty convinced that it was a good product, and I had done the research on my side, looking at other reviews, supposedly from reputable sources and things like that. And what I liked about it was cheaper than a Dyson, because Dyson's, if you get the latest and greatest Dyson stick vacs, you're looking at some serious change for a stick vac. This is not the one I have because they no longer make the one I have. Mine is not self-emptying, but mine looks like this and hangs on the wall. One thing I really liked about it is at the time it was one of the few that had swappable batteries, and it came with a wall caddy with a bunch of really useful attachments that were, usually you get some of like superfluous ones that you're never going to use and you're going to throw it in a cabinet. This had a dock that hung on the wall and had a place for all the little add-ons and accessories, and it also charged two batteries at a time, and you could swap them out. We have had this probably 4 years at this point, and the one glowing review I have on this is that the battery life on these are really good. I can do the whole house on two batteries, and that is like getting under things and like ceiling fans in corners and dust bunnies and things like that. So the battery life on it is fairly good for a stick vac. You're not going to get hours out of stick vac batteries. It's just not going to happen. You might get 15-20 minutes. So I can do a quick go through on both batteries, and it lasts pretty good. And even 4 years in, the batteries are still holding strong. I like the fact that the filter on it is washable. I think I have bought new filters maybe twice, because you can rinse them and clean them multiple times as long as they're dried out. I also like the fact that you can take the whole thing apart, which is nice. It's not like factory glued together and things like that. And I also like that the canister is so easy to empty. It's one of those where I'm not dumping the stuff out of the canister on myself by accident when I'm trying to get it in the trash can. It's actually really good about emptying things. That being said, we got about 1.5 years on it before we started having problems. The suction was great in the beginning, now not so much. It is barely functioning at this point, and we spend more time repairing it than we do using it. I think right now we've gone several weeks without even using it, because it doesn't even pick up basic things off the floor. It's just making noise at this point, and I don't think any of us have really had the notion to replace it just yet, because we accidentally fell into something else that we've been using in the meantime, and it's not an ideal situation, but we're going to have to do something at some point. But like I said, it was good in the beginning. It really was. And as time has gone on, it has just lost suction, no matter how many times we clean the filter or replace the filter or maintain it or things like that. The one surprise here has been the vacuum that we bought for the camper. Because if you have a camper, you're going to need something to pick up all the stuff that gets tracked in. And there's different things that you can do to mitigate the stuff coming in the camper. You can take shoes off, you can have mats, you can do all the things. You're still going to have a bunch of stuff in the camper. And now at this point, Radar is going with us on trips. He loves the camper, probably more than any of us. He is like, this is where I want to be. So we have a lot of corgi hair or corgi glitter all over the camper. And so we had to get something that was portable, lightweight, and fit with how we live when we're in the camper. We have had Ryobi, I'm not exactly sure how you're supposed to say it, power tools for projects around the house, because we like the swappable batteries. And it's one of the few that it actually has enough power, even though it's got the swappable batteries. We may be a little too far in on the Ryobi swappable things. It's the Ryobi ones, I think. because I have a glue gun that uses the Ryobi batteries. So we are at the point where not only do we have the power tools, we have saws, we have a misting fan, I think a leaf blower, a few other things, and then a glue gun that's all using the swappable batteries. So when we got the camper and we needed something, I really did not research this that much because I really wanted just something that was functional, lightweight. I really didn't care how well it picked up because it's just the camper and there's no carpet in the camper at all. And it's a very small camper, so it's not like there's a lot of floor surface area type things. And the one thing I liked about this is they were having the Ryobi days at Home Depot, and this is usually really expensive. I can't remember how much it is. I think it's like $400 with the extra. It's got this particular version of the vacuum has 3 batteries and a charger. I think it's usually like $350, $400 maybe. I don't remember. During Ryobi days, I snagged this whole set for $199, and I thought that was a really good deal because normally I can't buy the batteries for $199. And like I said, all of our other tools use these batteries, so we are going through them on a regular rotation. So we have a docking station for the batteries in the camper in a cabinet, and we use the I think it's like an impact wrench or something like that to do the stabilizer jacks. We have a few other things in there that we carry with us. The misting fan uses these batteries. So just having it native to the system that we already had was great, and we always have one battery on the charger so we have something charged, and we just swap them out. So here is the system that I bought. It's just a regular stick vac. It's very lightweight, just a canister vac. The battery goes right here on the back, and it's got a rotating end on it. I did buy the little motorized beater bar thing for the handheld part, just to get like dog hair and stuff off upholsteries. We end up using this a lot on our bed because if he's up on our bed, I don't have a way to wash things in the camper. So getting some of the dog hair off the bed is very useful for us. This shows, how it does. It's got 2 different speeds. Everything's adaptable here. It does have the ability for the wall mount. We don't particularly use that, and it does have a few accessories. Ours does have the crevice tool, and it does have the dust brush, and it's all very compact and stays in a basket under our sink. This actually comes apart. The canister part can be separated. It separates right here where the wand is. So this is where like you would put that motorized beater bar or the crevice tool or things like that. And then it's going to stick here. And then this comes off here. So it goes into 3 parts. And it actually fits behind the back of our couch because the couch back folds over to turn into a bed. So when we're traveling, I can take that apart and it stores behind the cushion of the couch and you don't even see it. I also like the fact that it stands up by itself and doesn't have to be propped up on anything because this has a lock right here and it will stand itself up. This thing keeps impressing me left, right, and sideways. It cleans well. It has great suction. It's versatile. It's lightweight. It can be heavier or lighter depending on how big a battery you put on it, because I think you can see here where it's got the different size batteries. Most of the time we have the bigger battery on it and it's still not that bad. I can easily lift it above my head, things like that. I like the I guess the stick on it gets in crevices really well where I can't quite reach. My only complaint with it is I hate emptying it because the way this comes off, you have to take it completely off of the stick, and it's kind of a pain in the butt, and it always feels like you're going to break it every time you pop the canister off. There's not much danger of you accidentally popping the canisters off. I know on some stick vacs that does happen. This is not coming off. It actually has a lock right here where it sticks to or locks onto the stick. So I have to say this so far has been really good, and I've been wildly surprised because, like I said, I did no research on it. I just bought it because it used the same batteries and I just needed something quick to go in the camper. The camper actually went in for some service a few weeks ago. So before we took it over there, I pulled this out of the camper, and I've been using this around the house instead of the Tineco because it blows it out of the water left, right, and sideways. And my big thing is the swappable batteries, and this is unlimited swappable batteries. There was one day we like cleaned the whole house with it. We were in a hurry. People were coming over, and I think we went through 4 batteries, but we did the entire house, and everything was like great. And I have to say, the more I use this, the more I like it. I don't know that I will buy a second one for the house. I may end up getting a Shark or something like that for the house. I have not quite decided. If anybody has any suggestions or comments about any of those, let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, honestly, if this was easier to empty, I would definitely buy one for the house. But I don't know that I want to deal with the hassle of unclipping that every time. And I think you can kind of see it right here where that clip is. So that's where we are with the vacuums. I still have my big Dyson that I use for normal stuff, and I have to say, other than it being an absolute beast and heavy to use, it is still hands down the best vacuum we have. It's just a pain to haul it out every time we need something smaller to get some pet hair off the floor, things like that. I'd like the robot vacuums to get together and combine some of their tech. I think we're almost there. I'm not expecting a miracle out of the robot vacs, but I would like them to do basic functionality. And I think at this point, we've had enough years and I've had enough experience that I know what they can be capable of. So I don't think I'm being unreasonable with my expectations of what the robot vacuums can do. I am impressed with how far the mapping has come, and I'm very impressed with how far the mopping has come. I did not expect the Roborock to have such good mopping things, and really that's the thing that saves it, is the fact that the mopping is so good on it. I'm willing to put up with the vacuuming part of it, and the fact that the whole self-emptying thing is a complete disaster on these things. I don't know if it's just this particular model with the right angle, or if they're all like this, or things like that. I think a software update could fix a lot of the things, give me a self-emptying button to where I can tell it, hey, you need to empty more often. But I'm doing a lot more maintenance on the Roborock than I had to do with the iRobot Roombas. And that's not my favorite, because the whole point is to not have to deal with it all the time. And I'm having to chase it down and empty the dustbin manually on the robot quite a bit. And on these, they're not meant to be manually emptied, so you have to take the filter off every time you go to dump it manually. Will I keep it? Yes, I will keep the Roborock for now. If something better comes along, I might be entertained to try it, because I'm frustrated with it. And honestly, at this point, I'm verbally abusing a robot vacuum, and that's probably not great. And I look like a crazy person when I'm doing that. So that's all I had for now, my short rant on vacuums, and I will see you next time.